Hey everybody, this is Jeffrey Weiss, EsportsCircus. Thank you so much for joining us again. I'm so happy to have you here. And we're having, like I said, every time I get on these videos, I say we're having a great time. Every time, and I meet these wonderful, creative people here doing creative things that are so in line with what we're believing as the future is. And I want to talk about it. First, I want to ask you for a big, big favor. If you could like and subscribe to the video, and also put some comments down so we can relay it back to our guest and let her or him, or what right now it's a her, know how you feel and what you'd like to know more about. So right now, get right to my guest. How you doing?
Good. How are you? I am Doc Peace. I'm a doctor of pharmacy by trade and spoken word artist at heart.
I know. Spoken words, that's such a beautiful thing. I love poetry. I mean, I remember that beautiful poetry when Biden was elected. That poem just rocked me to my core.
Spoken word has that effect because it speaks to your soul. It bypasses the mind that's constantly judging and trying to explain and determine things, and it goes directly to the soul.
My grandmother, when I was growing up, she would only converse with me in haikus. So we had to write letters to each other, and I had to she would only let me write her small letters in haikus. And she was a sculptress and a poet.
Your grandmother sounds like a goddess herself.
Yes. Well, most women are goddesses.
This is true.
And we need more goddesses to express themselves and open up and to realize the goddesses within them, because many women are goddesses and they don't realize it. And
so true.
They're stuck sitting behind a desk, sitting behind a man, sitting behind the thing, and they don't know to get out in front and just stand up and say, I am a goddess, right?
Yes. And see, I think that's a huge point that you brought out. And in fact, my whole business is actually built on this acronym called GOLD. And it stands for Genuine Original Loving Dreamer. Genuine Original Loving Dreamer. So gold becomes now more than just a color, but an embodiment of who you are. And it reminds you that I am an authentic being. I'm an original being. And if I'm not doing what I'm doing, if I'm not expressing who I am in the way that only I can express it, who else will? If I'm not following my dreams and making that a reality, who else will? Because no one has your exact same set of gifts, expert skills, and talents that you do. And once you can realize that and embody that, then everything changes. You give yourself permission to fully express.
One of the things that we're big into is NFTs.
Yes.
So if you don't know what NFTs are, I want you to explain to people what NFTs are.
Yes, so NFT stands for non-fungible tokens. It's basically a way for you to own your art. So Web 1 was when the internet came out, you were reading internet, right? Web 2 is when you were putting out content, but you didn't own that content. So you're putting it out on social media, but you don't own that content, right? That's on all these other social media platforms. Web 3 is now where you're actually owning your content.
Right.
And non-fungible tokens is one of the methods in which you can now own your content.
It is so cool, and we're going to be going all around the country with our esports events, and we're going to be working with the schools and getting these kids to understand that they're creating these art pieces, and these art pieces can come alive.
Yes.
And art is so much better when it's alive, and they can actually make a career out of it, and they can create it's like in our society we're a spend society, and we're not a saving society. We're not a society, it's like when I was a kid, my grandmother, she said to me, she said, I'm going to take you to Burger King. I said, I love Burger King. I says, do you like, and we sat there, and she says, do you really love Burger King? I said, I really love Burger King, Grandma. And she says, do you want to own Burger King? I said, I'd love to own my own Burger King. And so she handed me over 100 shares of Burger King stock. And it changed my mindset, on how to think about savings and not just spending, but getting out there and savings. I went all over school telling people I own Burger King, and I did. Wow. And it's like got me to start saving and start investing. And now I'm at a point in my life, it's like when this pandemic hit, people were like, oh my God, I'm going to be out of work. I'm going to lose my home. I'm going to lose this. Yes. It's hard to say, people, people who live paycheck to paycheck, but you can't. Anybody can do it. Whether you're a guy who cleans bathrooms in the airports, or a guy who operates a forklift, or a stay-at-home mother, everybody can take portion of the things, and you have to be ethical about it and manage your money and create your own wealth. And this is a fabulous way for people who have this ability to create this wealth for themselves that lasts forever.
Yes, so very true. And so I want to touch on that a little bit more, because there's 3 main ways that you can enter into the NFT community. And a lot of people focus on the art, right?
Yeah.
You know that there's the art aspect of it. There's also the collector aspect of it, people who are collecting the art and investing in the artist. But there's also the service provider aspect of it, because it's necessary to have like the developers, the marketers, the supportive background, the accountant, the legal advisors, the coaches, the nutritionists, the wellness, the psychiatrists, all that goes into play to support the artists.
Right.
Right? And so my passion is really to bring more people, more service providers into the NFT space to support the artists, to support the community.
So you also mentioned you're a pivot coach, right?
Yes, yes.
And I know what pivoting is, because we all, I mean, if you looked at it, if you look at any successful company, you look at Uber, you look at Groupon, even you look at companies like CVS Pharmacy, they started out something else.
Yes, so very true.
And
so pivoting means that you're changing your viewpoint to go in a different direction than what you initially thought that you would go in. And so before you can give yourself permission to pivot, you have to give yourself permission to step outside of your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
And I feel like I've been doing this all my life.
Yeah.
One thing that I didn't share, that I'm a little bit shy, and I've been shy since I was a kid. I would hide underneath the bed. My favorite place in the world was underneath the bed. I didn't want to be seen, let alone heard. And it took me some time to realize that if I wasn't out here sharing my gifts, sharing my talents, no one else would do this. Like, I had to do it. I had to start speaking my truth, because if I didn't do it, who else would, right? And so at that point, I had to pivot. From a young kid, I've been pivoting, and I had to change my viewpoint, and I had to come out from underneath the bed and start speaking my truth. And then fast forward 20 odd years, I became a pharmacist, and I was, out there sharing and guiding people and helping themselves by understanding what medications, what they were taking, how to take it, what to expect, all of that. But I realized it wasn't fully aligned with my soul purpose. And so I gave myself permission to pivot. And I remembered that I was always a poet. I've been a spoken word artist for the longest time.
Yeah.
From when I was 12, I wrote my very first book, The Midnight Show.
Yeah.
And it was about the sky that lights up and how all of nature stops and looks upon it. And it's akin to how when you start to shine your light, the world will take notice. And I wrote this when I was 12, and I paired it with Van Gogh inspired art, and I paired it was poetic, it rhymed, super inspiring, but I forgot about that little girl. And it wasn't until literally a few years ago that I remembered that I was a spoken word artist at heart, and I allowed myself to pivot.
That's
so
great.
Like, there's pivot after pivot.
That's kind of like Maya Angelou, because she was that woman a little girl who hid and who only discovered that brilliant talent that she had, that amazing thing that she had, because she was hiding inside of her, and then she blossomed, and that's what it came out.
Yes, and it's such a disservice to yourself, not just yourself, but to others when you hide your gifts. And so giving yourself permission to pivot is a way of saying, hey, like, I'm going in this direction, but I'm no longer aligning with it anymore. I'm going to take a moment to step outside of my comfort zone and realign with my soul purpose. That which actually sets my soul on fire.
Sometimes it's hard to realize that what you're doing is not working the right way,
This is true.
Sometimes it's hard to face that, because people think it's a failure, but it's not a failure.
No, and it really starts with taking a moment to really ask yourself those tough questions.
Absolutely.
What are my gifts? What are my expert skills? What are my talents? Am I using all of these gifts, these blessings, to the fullest extent? Wow. And if the answer is no, then perhaps we need to realign.
Absolutely. So how do we get in touch with, how do you find out more about you again?
Yes, I would love to get in contact with you more and your audience. I'm mostly on Twitter. Twitter. Okay. Doc Peace on Twitter. Doc Peace _
Peace on Twitter. Doc Peace on Twitter.
Yes.
So go Doc Peace on Twitter, guys.
I guide service providers in pivoting into the NFT space, and I guide NFT creatives in getting more visibility in the space so that we can all thrive together.
Well, thank you so much for being on my show.
Yes.
I have so enjoyed our interview and talk and chat. Please like and subscribe everything here. Share it out to your friends. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for joining me on the Esports Circus show. Bye-bye.